What's going on, you guys? RBG here, bringing you more coverage on Marvel Avengers. As we all know, Crystal Dynamics has been consistently doling out new things for the game, and the more things we get from Marvel Avengers, the more uploads you guys get from me talking about it. I know I've stressed over and over I'm not going to report on it if there's nothing to write home about, but there are some good and bad takeaways that we've been getting over the past few weeks. It's been a pretty interesting time for this particular project too, right? Because even though it had a botched release with all the bugs and slow rollout, it's starting to pick up a little momentum in terms of the additional characters and somewhat vague roadmap. And we've seen the new MCU costumes through leaks, which look amazing. With all that said, there's still a negative fog looming over this title, so I want to try to address the super negative things and the fair criticisms, because there seems to be this weird divide from the people who are downright declaring this game a failure and those who are calling people who are fairly criticizing it haters. Both are equally toxic, so I just want to pick out the criticisms that make the most sense. Now, something that I always thought made the most sense is that if I hate something, I usually move on. That's a philosophy I've applied to my life when it comes to food, women, and most of all video games. I've even applied it to my channel if I thought a game just wasn't worth the headache covering. I just think it's a waste of time consistently going to the comments talking about how bad something is and yelling at the highest mountain how much it sucks. Unfortunately, with every new update, no matter how good it is, this game just still gets swarmed with negativity. And the latest updates, such as the MCU suits, have essentially created a rabbit hole of negativity. Like, this stuff runs deep, man. When we first heard these skins were going to be inspired by the movies, we just knew that something was going to be off about it. I personally was expecting them to be reused assets that the devs would just try to pass off as the MCU looks, but as you've seen from the leaks and the official reveal for the Black Widow outfit, they're very accurate. The only issue, if you can even call it an issue, is that the hair and weapons remain the same. And I'm not gonna lie, I did think it was kind of a bummer that they couldn't just create similar hairdos for the characters' movie counterparts, but it wasn't anything that I thought was an instant deal breaker. But apparently the good people on the Reddit forums thought otherwise. Operation Hairgate was in full effect, and people kept going on and on about how these skins were an epic failure because the hair didn't change, which is kind of trivial in a way because these are quote-unquote outfits. They're not necessarily trying to mimic the likenesses for the characters, and Crystal Dynamics' social media manager Andy Wong mentioned that it didn't make sense to change the overall model when they're CD's version of the character. But he did say that it's something that he talked to the staff about. I feel like people don't really give Crystal Dynamics credit for actually listening when we suggest certain things, because they do actually listen. We're getting a patrol free roam mode that we've been asking for since the game launched, and the team has fixed more than a few issues we've been complaining about. Obviously they still have a lot of work to do, but I think things are starting to pick up now that they finally gained their footing. And considering the fact that the virus numbers are starting to let up with millions of residents starting to get their shots, the staff will get to go back to the actual studio instead of working remotely. So I think we shouldn't be so reactionary upon seeing something that's not really worth the negativity, you know what I'm saying? I can only imagine how the devs feel when they constantly get complaints about something, but when they actually give you what you want, you find something else to nitpick about. Like, we've been asking for these costumes since the game got announced, and a big complaint a lot of fans have is that these characters don't mirror their movie counterparts, but now we're getting that to some degree. Another negative complaint that I find funny is that people are saying that the devs are too busy making these skins when they should be fixing the game. And I'm not sure if you guys even know this, but one of the reasons why Crystal Dynamics has been taking so long to produce more content is because they've been trying to fix the game. They've actually been hard at work polishing the foundation to ensure that the game isn't unplayable when they add other things to it. Like, I'm not trying to excuse them for bringing out additional content at a snail's pace, but it's completely understandable that they would want to make sure this game is completely playable first. So it's weird that you have this group who yells, "Why don't you worry about fixing your game instead of selling the costumes?" It's just one of many scenarios in which the devs can't win. With that said, I gotta agree with one of the criticisms regarding the cosmetics and overall marketplace. Another person who's been one of the most fair and reputable sources for Marvel's Avengers coverage is Paul Tassi. Like me, he's been telling it like it is, and even though the devs grant him access to things, he doesn't really shield for the company, which is very commendable because we don't really need people flip-flopping in this community. But anyways, he took to Twitter to basically point out that the devs are promoting more microtransactions than they are actual content, and I wholeheartedly agree. Every social media handle for this game has been heavy with cosmetic marketing. Like, it's been ramped up to an insane level, which I feel like the devs are just putting an even bigger target on their back, because the game already has a negative stigma for it being a GAAS title that's barely even delivering content. And this is where I have to call out the fans who show blind allegiance to this game, right? Like, it's bad enough that we have people that don't even play the game coming out of the woodworks just to crap on it for the hell of it, but the ones who come up with excuses for the developers and call people haters for giving constructive criticism are far worse in my opinion. Because when you give these companies leeway, things don't get done. Not to mention that it makes people such as myself who call it right down the middle look bad. One of the main excuses you guys use for Crystal Dynamics' obnoxious microtransaction promos is that they're using it to coincide with the events they released. And I'd agree to a certain extent, but can we really call these events, or are we going to call it for what it really is? The same stale missions with a gimmick tacked onto them. And that's all it is. We're essentially doing what we've been doing since the game launched. It's just now that they're granting you the ability to play with others who have the same character, which is something that should have been in the game from jump. Like, let's be real, the Tachyon Rift is nothing but a simple filler to give us a little more incentive to play the game while they work on the real content. And this quote-unquote new Ruskaya Protocols event that's supposed to lead into the Red Room is right there with it. The devs couldn't even bother to give us some kind of story or cutscenes to make it seem like something special. We just performed the same missions with repetitive objectives like kill a certain aimbot with a heroic ability, etc. What makes matters worse is that most of the objectives are broken, so the fact that they would try to push all of these micros over something that isn't worth writing home about is kind of laughable. Black Widow's in-game outfit makes sense since the character has a movie coming out and the Red Room takeover is highly associated with her, but the way the devs go about promoting these skins is a no-no. Marketing copy and paste skins that you recolored and trying to pass it off as if they're pertaining to this new event is a no-no. And if you're gonna reuse assets, at least be creative with it. Like, whoever's doing these reworked outfits needs to be let go because they have no imagination. It baffles my mind how hyped people got for the superior Iron Man outfit when it was nothing more than a recolor of the Epic outfit and a new head mold. Like, other than the color and the exposed head, there was hardly anything that resembled the suit from the comics. There's no reactors in the shoulders, not to mention they didn't bother adding the light blue neon lines that go down the legs and other parts. What's even more frustrating is that they couldn't add the neon lines to this suit, but they turn around and come out with these suits that have nothing but neon lines on them. Like, you just know if fans had the ability to customize their own heroes, we'd come up with way better inspired outfits. I personally would have used the original Sin's armor shoulder components to make the reactors in the shoulders. And don't the gauntlets for the illustrious skin look exactly like the superior gauntlets from the comics? That's how easy it is to remake these iconic outfits if you have a creative eye for detail. But with all the negatives and positive negatives out of the way, I wanted to talk about something that was just revealed to us while I was making this video. As we're all aware, Spider-Man is a character that's been promised to the PS4 and 5 owners. He's been promoted on all the PlayStation physical copies of the game, but it hasn't really been specified when we'll get him. It's almost like the character has become an afterthought because the devs don't really talk about him as much, so we don't have much to go on in terms of how he'll play or what he'll look like in this game. That's until yesterday. A few members from Crystal Dynamics held an update stream for Marvel Avengers, and shortly before it ended, one of them briefly gave an update on Spidey.
Spider-Man, I see a lot of people asking, can we say that there's some really cool animations I've seen, and the skin's looking amazing.
You can say whatever you want, you just have to deal with the consequences.
I know. Well, you already said it, so we're working on them, guys. As obviously we're working on it.
So as you can see, the web head seems to be well on his way out the gate. And according to one of the devs, the animations and skins are some of the things we should look forward to. Like, this dude seemed like he was ready to blow the lid straight off of what was in store for the fans of the webhead. While I'm excited to see what kind of costumes and moves they have for him, I'm still a bit apprehensive about his traversal mechanics. Although we do have characters that can swing from things, it's not really saying much, and I'm hoping that they at least consider just giving Spidey an invisible cloud to swing from to prevent bogging him down and reducing him to one of those grounded characters. Like, I usually prefer the flying type characters since they seem to get around faster, not to mention that they don't look stupid hopping on the ground to cover more distance, so we need that web swinging to be on point. Since E3 is right around the corner, it would be the perfect time for Square Enix to reveal him or at least give us a release date for him to somewhat put us at ease. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, I think I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Do you think there are way too many haters and shields that confuse newcomers who have questions about the game? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, I ask you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future videos. Also guys, me and my fiance just launched a new reaction channel aimed particularly at anime and cartoons, so if you want to get a better idea of my personality and what I'm like on camera, come check us out. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.